Hi, welcome back to Garden on the Moors. We've ventured to the coastline of Cornwall, seeing as we live in this beautiful county, to show you some of the incredible wildflowers that live around our coast. I hope you enjoy. I'm starting off my coastal adventure at the end of winter. Now there aren't very many plants around, but there are some really cool animals. There's one in particular which I know lives here, which is a really ancient animal. Its fossil records go back 140 million years. That's the same time as T-Rex was walking around, Triceratops, all of them lot were walking around. That animal was still here doing exactly what it's doing today. So hopefully we're going to find some. So let's go take a look. In a muddy puddle just below me here, I've actually managed to find the animal we're looking for. You might recognise these if, like me, you used to have a little tub on your desk when you were a kid of sea monkeys. Well, this is the wild fairy shrimp, which are basically sea monkeys. What they do is they live in ponds just like this, well really, puddles, not even ponds, just little puddles like this that temporarily fill up and dry out over summer. What happens is the rain will come down in sort of end of winter type of thing, fill the pond, and the eggs will hatch within about 48 hours of the pond filling up. And they live super duper quick. Within 3 weeks of hatching, they can be breeding and lay eggs for the next generation. What happens then is that they'll obviously eventually die, the pond will dry up, and just turn to dust over summer, and they'll lay dormant as eggs, waiting for next season's rains to come. They're quite smart though, evolutionary wise, in what they do, because not all the eggs will hatch every time the pond fills up. So that way, if the pond fills and dries up within a week or two, there's still some eggs left dormant in the dirt to hatch next time around, to give them another try. And they'll stagger the eggs, so the different eggs will be staggered to hatch at different times, different triggers. So absolutely amazing to find them. They're quite rare now. They obviously need quite specific conditions, which are these obviously ephemeral puddles which just pop up and come down, but they also need it to be grazed by livestock because they need nutrients from those livestock to keep them going and give them a bit of energy and some nourishment whilst they're in the puddle growing and living basically. But really amazing to find. I've never seen them before, so super stoked to have found them here. Right, just behind, as I finished that little bit about the fairy shrimp, I've just looked around and there are a pod of porpoises. These are harbour porpoise. There's about, I think about a dozen. They're so far away, but you might be able to see a swirl in the sea, which is a current. And in the big blob part of that swirl is where the porpoises are. So that current is going to be full of nutrients like algae and things like that. That's going to attract things like any plankton that's left in the water, but small fish, bigger fish, and then the predators of bigger fish, like the porpoise, which is out there now. And they're obviously happy. They're even jumping out of the water, which is really unusual for porpoise. How you can identify them is that they'll roll through the water. They're not like a dolphin, which is like comes out really far. They just gently roll, and they have a really triangular dorsal fin. But even though they're jumping, they're definitely porpoise. But yeah, beautiful, amazing to see. So what a lovely end to the day. It's a typical spring day here in Cornwall with some heavy showers passing through, but we've come out because there's a very rare flower which is in flower now. It only flowers between now, but sort of May and June sort of time, so right at the end of May, at the bank holiday weekend. And it's this flower just here. Now I know what you're thinking, it looks dead because has, you know, it's all sort of browny and it looks sort of finished, like it's had it. The reason it looks like that is because it's actually a parasite. So we've seen some hemiparasites out on the moors, things like the lousewort, and find things like yellow rattle that tap their roots into other plants to steal some nutrients. This is a broomrape and it steals all its food from other plants. It doesn't bother doing anything with its own, making its own food with chlorophyll. So it has no green on it. It's completely colourless in terms of green. But this one is a purpley tinged colour. It's on its bottom lips, the middle lip of the lower ones is the largest, and it has sort of a yellowy tinge to the inside. It's also parasitising this plant here, which again helps us to identify it. This is carrot broomrape. Now I'm thinking, if you're going to steal nutrients from any roots, carrot's a pretty good one to go for. So this is it here, carrot. This is sea carrot. And if we compare it to some of the other carrots around, like this one here, or there's one in flower there, you see they're much larger. They've got a lot, they're in full flower really. That one's got, well, how many has it got? A good half a dozen flower heads coming on. And the poor carrot that's being parasitised looks very, very sorry for itself. It's got just a handful of leaves, and that's it. So that's the effect that the broomrape has, is that it reduces the growth and the vigour of the other plants growing around it. So we've got two really interesting species not working together at all, was one stealing from the other one. But we've got the sea carrot, which is that lovely dome-shaped flower, and a carrot broomrape. Right, hopefully you can hear me over the wind. We've come down the cliff and we're on this beautiful maritime grassland goodness. There's so many different wildflowers here. It's like an alpine rock garden. You can see the different birdsfoot trefoil, the sea thrift, this lovely pink. There's buckthorn plantain, which is this little plant here. And we've got more of that carrot broomrape. These are slightly older ones. I guess they're getting more sun, where it's a bit more exposed and they're a bit further along. And again, there's a teeny tiny carrot just in here, which is just about holding on. But you can see that lovely purple lip, but just the whole scenery around here is absolutely amazing. There's just this beautiful patchwork of colours. It's just glorious. We've come a little further up the coast into Devon to come to this amazing sand dune environment. There's absolutely stacks. We've literally just got here. There's already stacks of amazing wildflowers, and I've just pulled over to show you this one here, which you may recognise. It's quite a commonly grown garden flower plant, but this is growing out in the wild where it belongs. This is Viper's Bugloss. It's a really cool name. An absolutely beautiful flower with these tall spikes of purple flowers. They're quite often grown in pollinator mixes, so you might recognise it from there. But absolutely lovely to see it growing out in the wild. And yeah, it's a really nice shade of dark purple blue. And there are lots of blue butterflies as well flitting around. So try and find out what kind of one they are. But yeah, amazing. Like I said, only just got here and we're already seeing amazing plants. So let's see what else we can find. All around me here are these beautiful purple orchids that you can see. These are southern marsh orchids. Now we're actually here looking for a rare relative of these. These are quite a common plant really, so we're looking for something a little bit rarer. So hopefully we can find one out in the dunes. So let's carry on. Well, this is an absolutely beautiful sight to behold. We've got this lovely carpet of sand pansies, or Dune Pansies, whichever you like to call them, but they are a specialist of the area. And what's interesting, what that's going on here, is that if you've seen any of our moorland flower videos, you'll know that a lot of our rare violets grow with the parasitic plants. They rely on them to make space for them. Exactly the same thing is happening here, but this time we have eyebrights growing with the Dune Pansies. So these eyebrights are tapping their roots into the more vigorous plants, things like grasses, stealing nutrients from them, which is making them less vigorous. And that's making space for these other beautiful little wildflowers like the birdsfoot trefoil, other little things growing around here, but mainly here, space for these Dune Pansies. They're absolutely beautiful. They're this lovely, let's say, lemon yellow colour with a creamy lemon top. And it's nice to see them because what we're used to seeing out on the heaths and the moorlands are violets, so they're more of a sort of pinky purple colour, whereas obviously here they're that lovely bright sunny yellow, so gorgeous, such a great find, so really really pleased with these. Well, what an absolute little stunner. This is an early marsh orchid, so a bit similar to like what we get out on the moors near us. There's a little moorland that has early marsh orchid, but this is the sand dune variety. This is Coccinia, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see it really nicely contrasting with the southern marsh orchid behind it. That beautiful brick red colour of the Coccinia, and then the more lilac-y purple of the southern marsh orchid. We can also tell it's early marsh orchid because the bottom lip is really folded, it's super narrow. You can see that on these bottom ones down here. And also the markings are all kept nice and neatly in a little fine solid border which has all of the markings in. But this is the first time we found it. It took some real searching, let me tell you. We've been walking for hours. But what a prize. Absolutely beautiful. A new orchid for me and Brandon. The sand dune early marsh orchid, Coccinia. Absolutely beautiful. What a lovely colour that is as well. Well, as you can tell, we've made our way to Lundy Island, just off the north coast of Devon, and the first thing we've come across is this Lundy Cabbage, which I think is endemic to the island. It's definitely got the right name. But the real reason we've come to Lundy is to look for seabirds. Particularly puffins! Look at that! What an absolute cutie! He's got that lovely, oh watch out, got that lovely big colourful beak and bright orange feet. Just came around the business. Absolutely wonderful to see. I remember coming to Lundy got about 20 years ago, and there was just 2 pairs on the whole island. As you can see, loads of them now, which is just wonderful. It's, you know, it's such a great thing to see. They had a problem with rats that's now been resolved. They're all gone, and so now these puffins can just carry on chilling in the sun. I know you're thinking, this isn't a flower. This is a fern which is specially adapted to the coastal environment. It's sea spleenwort. Pretty cool name. Very lovely little fern. As you can see, nice and shiny leaves, and it is right on the seafront. So it gets absolutely hammered in a storm. Well adapted to the environment. And then a few other of its little neighbours, things like these plantains, more carrots, and just a whole great variety of different plants. One of my favourites to find in the sand dunes, this is on the north coast of Cornwall, are these plants here, which are sea hollies. They look quite aggressive. I'm not going to lie, they're not very friendly to touch, so no touching. Very spiky, but absolutely beautiful. I love that silver green leaf and the lovely purple flowers that they have. And they've got this sort of purple aura about them as well when you see them en masse like this. Absolutely gorgeous plants to see, sea hollies. We actually had these in our wedding flowers because I love them so much. And these are hare's foot clover. I just had to include them. They're so cute and fluffy, and what a great name, hare's foot clover. They do the same job as all other clovers, fixing nitrogen, but they're just lovely to see with that lovely little fluffy flower head. We have come down to one of the most southerly moors in Great Britain. We're down on the Lizard, can't get much further south than this really, and we've come across one of the specialities of the area. I've shown you some other heathers in the past in previous moorland flower videos, but this is a really special plant. It only really grows in this area. This is Cornish Heath. Big up Cornwall. So how do we tell it apart from the others? So the first thing is, obviously you can hopefully tell that the flowers are much paler. They're really pale pink, almost white, compared to something like this, which is just next to it, which is our more normal common heather, and there's some bell heather in here as well. The other thing is that its little stamen poke out of the flower, and the tips of them, where the pollen is bright red. So they look really interesting up close. They look like little Christmas decorations with like the nice white bells and bright red anthers on the tips of their stamens. So they're beautiful little plants. But yeah, real speciality of the area. Only really grow down on the Lizard. So very happy to find it, and a nice big mat of it. I know that there's more, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to get you some even more footage of it. We've just found another plant which is a bit of a speciality of the Cornish moors on the Lizard, which is this plant here. It's a bit more common up country. I see it quite a lot in sort of wet meadows further north in the UK, but in Cornwall we don't get it very much, except on the Lizard. It's this plant here, Great Burnit. It's got lovely leaves as well, which we get a nice close-up of them, nice zigzaggedy edges to the leaves, and it's surrounded by quite a few cool plants. We've got meadow sweet just in front, water mint, and a few other things like the rushes and things like that, but a lovely little plant, and a bit of a speciality of the area, Great Burnit. We've come down to one of the most southerly beaches in Great Britain. We're right down on the Lizard. The scenery is absolutely incredible. All around it's just beautiful turquoise blue sea, white golden sand, and incredible cliffs. And on top of those cliffs, there are some really interesting flowers. And a speciality of the area is just by the side of me here. Sadly, we're a little bit too late for the plants to be in full flower, where they would look a lot more of a nice dark ruby red. They've sort of gone over to their seed heads now, but we can still see the interesting thing that they're doing. This is thyme broomrape. So where we saw carrot broomrape earlier in the year, where we did get it in full flower, this is thyme broomrape. It's its little cousin down the coast, and what it's doing is, as the name suggests, is parasitizing the thyme. So there's some thyme plants just here. We'll get a close up in a second, and I mean they are flowering, but there's one or two flowers compared to the thyme behind it, which isn't being parasitized and is absolutely full of flower. The whole thing is like a carpet of flowers, and it's looking absolutely stunning at this time of year. But the broomrape has been sucking out the nutrients from it, taking that vigor, and basically just sponging off it its whole life. And now it's spreading its seeds for the next generation. What that means is that we've got increased diversity, so we have other plants here as well, like the heathers that are just by here, and this beautiful lady's bedstraw. Usually when you see it up country, same with this betony actually, both of these plants, when you see them in a meadow setting, they're enormous, but here in this harsh coastal environment, they're really, really tiny, but you still get to enjoy the different colours. It's like a little alpine garden in the wild. And then just further down, we've got these lovely bright blue sheep bits as well. Sheep bits, scabious, some people call them, but sheep bits, which are a lovely plant too. So yeah, we'll keep looking for hopefully one in full flower, but it's great to see so many, that have survived again this year. So yeah, really great to see. Also, we did have a chough go over, so really good Cornish bird, Cornish chough. Some other amazing things we found around our little trip around the Lizard have been sulphur beetles, which are these beautiful bright yellow little beetles that crawl along the flowers. They only really live in the south of England. We don't see them where we live in mid-Cornwall, so it's great to see them down here in this more Mediterranean environment. There's also been lots of rock samphire, which is a really glaucous green colour, and when you break it apart, or break off a leaf of it I should say, it smells like gin. and it's one of the plants that's used in the botanical mixes in Cornish gins. So that's a really nice one to find too. And another thing we found has been rest harrow, which is a really pretty pink pea flower, pink and white, like a little, like the drumstick lilies used to get. Really, really pretty. So loads and loads of stuff, and Dyer's greenweed, more carrots, just heaps and heaps of stuff. Seaspurry, just loads of really great botanical diversity, and all the insects on top of it, and the chuffs and the scenery. It's just perfect. What a great day. There are lots of stories of mermaids in Cornwall. Two very well-known stories, one in Zena, one at the Dune Bar, but there's actually a mermaid's pool just down below me here with another story attached to it. It's quite a well-known one, not as well-known as the others, but we'll have to say that for another day. There we are. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers!